All right. Good evening. I will now call to order the Monday, March 2nd regular scheduled town council meeting. If you would, please stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. Are there any questions from councilors? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
First from Councilor McElderry, second from Vice President Burke. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed. Oh, sorry. First from Councilor Melton, a second from Vice President Burke. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
Up next is a request to speak on agenda items. Amy, do you have any requests to speak?
No, we do not.
All right, then we will move on to the first item of old business, which is a consideration of an ordinance approving a letter of agreement between the town of Zionsville and Citizens Energy. This is a second reading. This is ordinance 2025-27. We have obviously the team from Citizens, our representation, and likely HSE here as well. If there are any questions from councilors?
I guess I have a question, just because it was a new packet that came in from Trico, I guess, through Steve Pittman, and there was I'm scrambling to get this, but there was a cost-different financial breakdown that was provided to us in Exhibit 1. I don't know if everyone's not looking at this, but I was curious about the 2025 sewer user rates, monthly sewer rate per 5,000 gallons, and Trico's listed at $30.03. And I guess that just seemed like it was much cheaper. You got Westfield for Citizens listed at $55.02. And I understand that IURC regulates this. I understand that Trico is a nonprofit, but that seems like a significant difference of $25.01. And I guess I'm just interested in trying to better understand how there could be such a fluctuation in what they're calling rate differences. It just seemed like a glaring question I needed to ask.
Councilor Burke, could you back up a little bit and explain maybe what you're reading from? Because I don't think because these were all shoved in our mailboxes and I didn't get a digital copy of this, if this is what you're referring to.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to get caught up, but I mean, just on that page. So this is just, obviously, we were continuing to see Trico make the claim that they could provide service in this area as well, or would be interested in doing so. And I realize there's lots of other hurdles for that to happen. I just immediately was caught by maybe how these user fees are generated and why there seems to be significant disparity between a number of ones. And this, and again, I know you're not looking at this, but it's got 14 different utilities listed in different prices. So cheapest is Trico at $30.03, and then the most expensive is HCRUD, $69.98.
But I don't think that this was a representative from Trico per se. It's written on Pittman property letterhead. So I think what I read when I read the packet was that he and a few other landowners had reached out to get pricing on sewer brought to their area, which would be, I believe, the 42132 district, and that they were able to attain numbers from Trico and were not able to get numbers from, I'm not sure. That's what I was reading in the packet. And then some numbers were being compared for rates and the cost to development. So to me, I just want to be clear, since we have said that it's not a digital copy for others, that this packet is actually from 3 parcel owners looking for the cost of development to their area. It's not from Trico. Would I be right in saying that? Anyone else?
No, I think you're right in saying that. I also think maybe what's important to remember with this particular ordinance is this request is between HSE and Citizens. And I say that because I know there's a lot of questions about a lot of different possibilities and directions, but I think we've had this in some fashion in front of council and/or council leadership for the better part of a year now. And we can get down a lot of different rabbit holes with who might have the opportunity to service if given the opportunity, or if requested, and we can get down a lot of other rabbit holes as well. And the fact of the matter is, we've got an ordinance in front of us, which is an agreement between Citizens and HSE, and I would agree that there's, the information that was shared with us is certainly interesting and compelling, but I think we need to keep it within the frameworks of the document and the ordinance, which is, again, just an agreement between Citizens and HSE. So,
I appreciate that, Mr. President, and I hope I wasn't trying to go down a rabbit hole. And I'm not trying to compare Trico or bring them into the conversation. It just raised the question, and maybe I could have asked it even without referencing the document, of just how disparities in rates, it sounds like everything is set through the IURC, right? And so that just seems like a dramatic difference of fees. So I guess the bigger question to Citizens is, help me better understand how fees are set, and how there might be disparities, regardless of the name of the 14 listed here. How can there be such a disparity, double even what looks like there could be a fee? That doesn't make sense to me. So forget Trico being potentially,
No, I 100% agree, because at the end of the day, the town has to live with the decision that we're going to make up here.
That's right.
And the ratepayers are going to ultimately be the ones that pay for the decisions that we make up here.
Exactly.
So we have to make a fully informed decision.
So-
I 100% agree.
Yeah, so that's where the question's coming from.
so the question would be, if you had the opportunity to ask it, whether it's Citizens or whoever else, would be, why the disparity in rates?
Yeah, help me understand how the rates are set, if they're really actually
Okay.
regulated by the IURC, and how there can be such wide disparities on something that's being regulated by the state.
Yeah, so I think let's get a Citizens rep up here, if you don't mind.
Oh, good, it's on. Thank you for this opportunity again. As to disparities in rates, I haven't seen the document you're referring to. Don't know what the source of it is with respect to Trico's rates and Citizens' rates.
Feel free to reference what page that is from that packet.
I just know it's Exhibit
Looks like
1.
it's marked as Exhibit 1. And it doesn't have a source other than Trico, so I don't know how the rates were calculated. So don't know as to accuracy, I'll just say that. But how rates are set, number one, Citizens is subject to Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission jurisdiction for the purposes of setting its rates. Trico is not. Trico's rates are set by its board. It doesn't have a rate oversight body. Hamilton Southeastern is also subject to Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission jurisdiction for its rates. The way rates between utilities are not necessarily the same. The rates are based on a lot of things. For instance, I think an easy way to look at it is if you have a utility that serves an area that's spread out more as opposed to one that's condensed, its rates would naturally be higher because there'd be more infrastructure going along with being spread out. So the rates are generally based when you go into the commission on the cost of providing service. So the biggest cost of providing service are your capital cost, what you have, the plant you have in the ground, depreciation on that capital. Other costs would be your O&M expenses, and so those are, and any debt that you might have. The commission will look at it and try to adopt rates that allow you to recover the cost of serving. And again, Tricos are not set by the commission. So again, I don't know why or how their rates are set, honestly. I assume they follow the same methodology.
So there's some real subjectivity in terms of allowing for costs of the provider, the IURC is not just looking out specifically for ratepayers in terms of,
No, they are looking out for the ratepayers. So what they look at really in close is like any expenses of the utility. They want to make sure all expenses are prudently incurred. And so any infrastructure that's in the ground that ratepayers are paying for, they want to make sure that that infrastructure was prudently placed in the ground. And I would say on another thing is some utilities recover costs differently. So for instance, Trico, I know, has a per acre fee that they charge for connections. Investor-owned. Citizens doesn't have one of those. Hamilton Southeastern doesn't have one of those. So what you might see in a rate comparison on this piece of paper probably doesn't cover like all the cost and all the mechanisms that rates are that costs are being recovered through.
Well, hold on a second.
I may,
Well, hold on a second, please.
Okay.
I know we're specifically addressing citizens here. So are there any other additional questions you have for citizens?
unless, no.
I do.
Okay,
You do.
Go ahead.
yeah.
I'm just really still trying to get my head wrapped around this. Is HSE and Citizens, so I'm going to ask Citizens, are you a for-profit utility or a not-for-profit utility?
Citizens Wastewater of Westfield is a for-profit utility held by a not-for-profit corporation. Our rates are set in the investor-owned methodology, but we're held by the board of directors for utilities, which is a not-for-profit.
I think that's where I got.
It is
I
a
was like,
little
I
confusing.
saw both.
Yeah,
so.
it is, yeah. Our structure is unique.
So I'm trying to figure out how that works. You're for-profit, you feed into a not-for-profit.
Mm-hmm.
How does it change from for-profit to not-for-profit?
It's really just a matter of how the rates are set. So, municipal rate making is a little different than investor-owned utility rate making. I would say that everything that, all the money recovered through Citizens Wastewater of Westfield is kind of kept in that loop and reinvested in the system, I think is one way to, but it is a separate company.
Okay. I think that just opened a lot more questions in my head. But I'll have to-
Evan, did you have something?
Yeah, I have
Evan, you
one.
go.
Steve, I've gotten a number of correspondences, frankly, from developers, large area developers, who are begging us not to approve this. For the example or the question being that, well, Citizens is just too expensive for me to get my project off the ground. Do you have a response to those developers that keep saying that it's just too expensive for Citizens to do this?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I think we do.
I'm sorry,
as
could you
far-
state your name for
Oh,
the record,
sorry.
please?
Ed Bukovac, the Director of Westfield Utilities. One thing is, I think our connection fee that developers pay, we don't make them pay it up front, so we spread their cash flow out as new lots come on. It's typically lower than a lot of other connection fees. And two, I just look at the track record. I mean, the city of Westfield is growing very quickly. Again, last meeting, talked to you all, we'll grow as fast or slow as you want to grow, but it doesn't seem to be hindering the 5th or 6th fastest growing community in the United States, and all those developers seem to be pretty happy with it as well.
Yeah, I just found it interesting that multiple developers in the area have come forward and have just said, Citizens is just too expensive for us to ever get a project off the ground, which may be good or good or bad for, depending on how you look at development. I guess, just kind of curious why they would be so strongly opposed to Citizens in the area, and if it weren't something other than cost, I don't know.
Yeah, and one other thing I would remind you of, and as you know, at the last meeting, there were a couple of things raised. Number one was the exclusivity issue, right? And there were several counselors, Counselor Stein, who's not here, President Plunkett, you both mentioned that one thing that troubled you was binding the council for years to come. So we tried to solve that by amending the letter agreement and sent a new copy of the letter agreement, which would allow the town to take back the area if it wanted to in 25 years, to the extent it was able to serve it and wanted to do so. And I understand right now that's not the plans, but you didn't want to have yourselves handcuffed. So we amended the agreement for that. And then the other thing is our agreement, I mean, what we're estimating, if you have development out there, I think Ed is estimating about $6 million of infrastructure cost. And the plant's pretty close, so that it's pretty reasonable cost, but Citizens has agreed to contribute $3 million to that development cost. And I know you're thinking, well, that leaves $3 million, but really it doesn't, because Citizens, unlike the other utilities, offers revenue allowances. So any revenues that are going to be generated by that development, the developer gets a credit for those revenues. And it can be substantial. So if it's a large wastewater user or it's multiple users, it would get a credit that would then further offset that $3 million. So it could, potentially get it down to zero. So I think Citizens is a very affordable option for developers. I know there have been various letters going around that we're not privy to, but I think Citizens is a very affordable option. And in the letter agreement, we're committing to giving that $3 million. I mean, we're going to sign, Ed's going to sign, or Jeff Willman's going to sign that we're going to contribute that $3 million.
I have a quick question, if it's okay. Sure. And I'm not sure if you can answer this. So I understand I'm putting you on the spot with this, but if you have an answer, I think it would be helpful for us. The way I've looked at this is we really have kind of almost three options. We have a yes vote for the transfer, a no vote that we don't want to approve the transfer, or we could take the extra step of trying to actually revoke the CTA. Mm-hmm. I'm interested in the no vote. Okay. If we were to vote no, can you at least share with us what would be the plans? Because I think we heard that Hamilton Southeastern could move forward and put pipes in the ground. They could then use Citizens to treat the wastewater. Is that the plan, or are we looking at litigation if we vote no?
The plan is, if you vote no, the plan would be that Hamilton Southeastern would provide retail service, and Citizens will provide wholesale service to Hamilton Southeastern. Customers in the area would be Hamilton Southeastern customers. They would then pay Hamilton Southeastern rates, pay their connection fees. They wouldn't get revenue allowances, so the developer in the area would lose out on those. And then I would say future customers in the area would be Hamilton Southeastern customers, and they would have to get a main extension from Hamilton Southeastern. And again, they would miss out on the $3 million that Citizens is committing.
Fair enough. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for counselors, specific Citizens?
Just one follow-up question, sorry. And first, and to begin, thank you for the amendment on the 25-year opportunity. I do think that was important that you heard council. Just on the $3 million, I understand that's an investment on your end to really help pay for some of the infrastructure costs. Just to my previous question, so when you go to the IURC and they have to subjectively look at what your costs are, obviously looking out for ratepayers, but also realizing you have a lot of skin in the game and a lot of dollars invested.
Right.
This in essence, the $3 million is important because it would potentially then, IURC would look at that as part of, that's money you're putting up.
Right.
Does that help ratepayers in the end because you're kind of agreeing to just kind of absorb that cost?
It does. We would get depreciation. We would recover our depreciation on that $3 million investment. So effectively, ratepayers in Westfield, for instance, would be paying some pennies for or more on the depreciation for those assets. On the other hand, if the developer were to contribute all $6 million, then the ratepayers would pay nothing and the developer would pay it. The saying in the utility industry is growth pays for growth. So anytime you go into the utility commission, and if you were to say, if some developer would say, gosh, it's too expensive for this utility, X utility to extend service to me, make them pay for some of it. The commission would never say, yeah, the utility has to pay for it, because growth normally pays for growth. Here, Citizens is kind of making a business judgment that they're willing to take that risk, that they'll put their skin in the game, the $3 million, hopefully get depreciation on that when they get it in their rate case, but it's certainly no guarantee. And I would say, if there's a big user out there and the commission can see, oh, yeah, it makes sense, it was a prudent investment for you to spend your $3 million, they'd get their depreciation. But if the commission were to say that wasn't prudent, and that's always a risk, then they wouldn't get depreciation on that.
Okay, thank you for that. Sorry, Jason.
I mean, I kind of struggle with what you said earlier and what you just said, because if you're a for-profit, and you're willing to spend $3 million on infrastructure, and then the IURC sets their rates based on their debt and their cost of serving, that would explain the higher rate. I don't know, right? Because they still have to make a profit for their shareholder. So in essence, the $3 million would definitely be on the back of the people using the service, because that's the formula you said that was found.
Right.
rates.
So again, you would get depreciation on that, and utility rate making is extremely complicated. It's like, days of classes, but you would get to recover depreciation on that. It would be, again, minuscule, and any contribution like that you're saying, you know what, we're gonna pay to extend this main into this area. Again, the utility's kind of putting that money at risk. It may get it, it may not.
Any other questions for Citizens?
How did you come up with the 25-year sunset or whatever? And is that a non-negotiable? I know you already negotiated for us, with us, but I guess throwing a dart and saying 25 years, and I understand there's infrastructure costs, and then just as Counselor Sampson mentioned, the $3 million, and so you must have extrapolated that and said, okay, this will make our money back in 25 years on infrastructure.
So I think, yes, that's right. So I think the $25 million, not speaking for Ed, he was comfortable with the $25 million that we would.
25 years.
It's like, okay, we will take it.
25 years, thank you. 25 years that we would recover our investment on that. I think Ed was comfortable with that. I also think, if I remember, I could be wrong, but I might have wrote it down, but I think that was the number that was thrown out last time at the meeting, so.
It didn't quite feel like 25 years made me feel great. I feel like that's a lifetime for everyone sitting up here, except maybe Evan. Evan might still be around at that point, but, I mean, just jokingly. Okay, you too, Craig. But
Some joke.
it seems like a long time. So-
Yeah, and I guess that's why I brought it up, because, 25 years, but again, if you're talking about the cost of the infrastructure, the pipe, and how long will it take, this area of Zionsville to develop? Do we want it to develop? And then is 25 years really enough at that point if it doesn't develop? So I see the risk. I appreciate the willingness to negotiate, to change your terms as well, and I think that's important for signs of a good partnership as we move forward. But I just wondered how the 25 came up, because 25 years is, again, yeah, I'll be 68 or something like that, and I'll probably live out there, maybe. You never know. But thank you. I just wanted to kind of understand and interpret the cost.
Ed, did I misspeak? That was kind of your calculation. Yeah. And I think, like I say, I had that number written down. I was at the podium, so I might have not written it, but I thought that's what Counselor Stein threw out.
Steve, one other question. Are you able to give me a ballpark of what the difference is between a wholesale rate versus a direct rate? Is it pennies, dollars? Nothing?
Ed, wholesale rate versus a direct rate.
I mean, it'd probably be a question for Corby. I think the wholesale rate and the direct rate, you would just fall underneath HSC's retail rates. So whatever those are is what it would be. And they have that wholesale rate that we would charge baked into their costs that they would charge customers. So.
Got it.
And then HSC is a for-profit, not a not-for-profit.
Please. I said please, yeah.
Corby Thompson with HSC Utilities. I stood up to answer Councilor Burke's question about the rate differences, but our wholesale rate that we pay to the city of Fishers and city of Noblesville is $3.20 per 1,000 gallons of treatment. We have negotiated the same rate with Citizens. Our monthly rate is a fixed rate. Even though we pay wholesale to Fishers and Noblesville, our monthly rate is less than their monthly rates. What they charge us wholesale has nothing to do with what the IRC allows us to charge to customers. We don't simply collect it and mark it up. That's not what happens. It's a much more complicated formula based upon rate base. The $3 million you mentioned for Citizens, that goes into their total rate base. They have a huge amount of customers. So that's how that's divided. Councilor Burke, your question, I've seen that chart. It's a very interesting chart. Of course, it was made by Trico, and they're at the bottom. It's 5,000 gallons per month. They use a metered rate, whereas Citizens and HSC uses a fixed rate. When HSC had 30,000 customers, our typical customer was 200 gallons per day, which is 6,000 gallons per month. So they're with their metered rate, they're actually more than we are for a typical customer, but they didn't show that in their chart that way. And in the sprinklers running in the summertime, their meter rates are based on water usage. So you get charged for sanitary sewer even though you're using water that's not going into the sewer. Additionally, IDIM requires that we plan for 310 gallons per day, which is 9,000 gallons per month. So when they're a metered rate, you can see the typical user is going to pay a lot more. It's going to approximate Citizens' $55 per month rate. So it's a skewed chart purposefully.
Sorry, I'm doing math in my head. So you're saying the $55 for you
Citizens.
is based on what you typically would do, 9,000 gallons? Is that what, 55 for 9,000?
IDIM requires us to design systems to 310 gallons per day per house. And that's a normal house. So if you get in a bigger house and you're a metered rate, you're going to even have a higher
Sure.
usage.
But the 55 represents how many gallons? Because I'm trying to,
It's Citizens' fixed rate,
it's your fixed rate.
yeah. And HSC has a $39.43 fixed rate per month.
We have a metered rate.
Yours is metered? Excuse me, Citizens is metered. I shouldn't be answering for them.
Okay,
HSC is fixed at $39.43.
thank you.
So we're cheaper than Trico in a normal house. And as far as the system development charges, Trico uses to talk about Trico, they brought themselves into the discussion. They use a per acre system development charge and a per home, whereas HSE uses just a per home. So in a low density area, such as Bradley Ridge, which you've approved, they're going to pay a higher system development charge there than they would if HSE. So it varies between utilities. Trico has two ways to raise money: user fees and developer fees. That's it. And I know they've thrown out things that they're going to pay for all these sewers out here in large, large numbers. Well, the only way they get that money is from developers or users. And their balance sheets and their statements are online, and I can assure you that their revenue less expenses is a lot greater than HSE's revenue less expenses, even though we're for profit. Additionally, on the for-profit, not-for-profit side, when we're built out, or if Citizens owned it, it'd be well over $2 million a year in personal property taxes paid on those pipes in the ground. And Zionsville gets their lion's share of that money, 60, what do you get, 32% of property taxes? That goes every year to Zionsville. And there's no police or fire needed for sewers in the ground. Trico doesn't pay those taxes.
So that's interesting. Can you repeat that one more time? Because if I'm hearing what you're saying, we receive tax money from the pipe that HSE and Citizens would put in the ground, but not Trico. Okay.
Yeah.
And what is your
Our
understanding?
tax bill in Fishers before we sold our lines in the Fall Creek Township, we're $1.8 million a year was our property tax bill. And Fishers bought those lines from us. Now the property taxes are zero.
Now they're exempt.
So I think, real quick, I kind of want to land the plane here, because we are in a spot where we are now comparing someone who is not involved in this in any way, shape, or form, except for a piece of paper that showed up in our mailbox
doesn't
with
affect
an
our
actual
decision.
document in front of us.
I mean, it does affect our decision, though. If in fact we did try to revoke the CTA, it's good to at least compare.
I mean, you
I'm
can
gonna lose
compare whatever
my
you
question.
want, but we've got somebody that has a CTA and somebody that wants to buy it, and that's the only thing we're making a decision on, guys.
True. But how you make your decision, hopefully, is based on what's best for the residents and the
Well,
businesses.
I would ask you, where's the win for the residents here in this whole project?
That's what we're trying to determine. That's why I'm asking these questions. I agree with you. We've got to make a decision on this, but the decision has to be based on something, and numbers help me make my decision at least.
Fair enough. Fair
Other
enough.
question?
Go ahead, Counselor Melton.
Yeah, my question is for HSE and then Citizens, period. Personal property, you said what you pay for personal property taxes. I just want to make sure that Citizens does do the same thing. So I just want to hear that from them, that,
Yep, for the wastewater
yeah,
investment.
infrastructure in the ground, that personal property. Yeah, perfect. So, thank you.
So again, and that's a great question, but again, the reason I mentioned what I said before was, we're not talking about whether or not Trico pays that.
I didn't say, I
know-
don't
know
care
you
about
didn't,
that.
But that's what I'm saying. We're in a spot where, whether we approve this or not, if they put pipe in the ground, that tax is paid. Because Trico is not even in the picture here. Again, I think we need to rein this into what is in front of us and what are we being asked to do. We have an ordinance that's been presented in front of us to approve the sale, specifically approving the letter of agreement between the town of Zionsville and Citizens Energy. And we know that HSE is currently in that CTA, or has that CTA, and Citizens is the one that's trying to buy it. That's what we know to be true.
If I can throw in one more, as far as HSE, we're prepared to file for IDEM. We have our plans approved. We have our easements in place. We could start construction. Our IDEM permit, it's a force main. It's fairly easy. It's pretty easy to calculate. We expect to get that permit within 60 days. We can have that's a force main. It's shallow. We've got the easements in place. We could have a completed force main in the ground by end of August. And we intend to do that. We now have proper plans from Bradley Ridge for their lift station. They need an electrician yet. They probably can go to IDEM in 2 months, get that lift station approved and begin construction on that as well.
Before we go any further here, Jeremy, am I missing anything here? I mean, you've heard the conversation. If you want to come up here and, or unless I'm not, and then you're good to stay there. Well, if you're going to say something, I got to have you at the mic. Sorry.
Thank you. Jeremy Fetty, on behalf of the council. I don't necessarily have anything to add unless you guys have questions for me. I provided, information which before the meeting, which I hope was helpful. But, if you guys have any, legal questions, with regard to what's being presented, I'm happy to answer.
Any specific questions for Jeremy?
More of a comment. I just haven't exactly wrapped my head around why we are needed to bless this union if they're ready to do business together anyway. If the regulatory committee or commission is actually who in the end says it can be done.
Well, I'm guessing it's going to, they're wanting some substance that the town's not going to try to provide service or allow someone else to provide service in the area before they're, willing to make the investment. I guess it's more of a question for them, but to me, it's based on, they want that, they want the town's agreement because they would have concerns that, they would move forward with this investment, and then, the town may, or permit someone else to compete with them.
Is this usual? I know that HSC has had a recent sale. Was that town asked to bless that sale?
It was to the city. The city.
Oh. Okay.
So
What
for those
about-
for those online, Corby with HSC said the city purchased it.
Yeah.
If I may, I could answer that question. And in the most recent, the updated version of the letter agreement, where I kind of set out Citizens' position with respect to HSC's CTA. HSC has a CTA for the area. They can continue serving it. There was an agreement with Zionsville, 2 agreements with Zionsville. In HSC's hands, those are solid agreements. Neither of those agreements say they can be assigned to Citizens. And so if Citizens is to step in and buy the CTA, we would want, like Jeremy said, some assurance that the town wants us to serve the area, is committed to letting us serve the area for, a period of, well, we have 25 years.
Thanks. Any other questions from council? I'll tell you, just as I kind of go through this, I'm certainly ready to put this to bed tonight. I think we've had this in front of us for quite a while. I appreciate everybody taking the time to come out. Candidly, from my perspective, I look at this and I just try to figure out where the win is for the town. And I know that we've talked about development and in that area, specific development. And the only thing that, when you start looking at development, the 2 things that are most important is utility and zoning and land use. And we're going through a lot of the land use now. When the utility's up there, if the land use complies, I think we're just in a spot where I know that Citizens has mentioned they would be good partners, and everybody's mentioned they would be good partners. I think my concern is that it just gets developed quickly. And, Ed even mentioned that, I think he said, that Westfield's one of the fastest growing communities in the state of Indiana, and the developers aren't having any problems. And I don't know that, candidly, that's my focus in that scenario. So I would just say that I think looking at the agreement that's in front of us here, HSC has the CTA. There's a letter of agreement between Zionsville and Citizens. I know that we've got, there currently isn't a vision from the administration to develop in that area, which is why there's the 25-year clawback in there. I would argue, I'm not an attorney, so I don't know how well this argument would hold up, but they put pipe in the ground to service Bradley Ridge or anything else. I would imagine that 25 years goes out the window immediately, because now all of a sudden that's in the ground. So, yeah, I'm certainly open to comments from counselors. Otherwise, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Just to piggyback on your comment about the 25 years, if we asked for 10 years, just in my mind, if we asked for 10 years and the zoning's right, they're going to try and recoup their money in 10 years, which means, in my mind, development comes faster. So and maybe I'm incorrect. It's obviously a free market. So 25 years sounds fair, sounds reasonable, long-term, and I would agree that I'm ready to vote on this too.
Anything else from counselors?
No, I just want to be very clear about something, that if this doesn't pass tonight, that I will in no way, shape, or form support any legal action for the town to get involved at the IURC. And I will encourage other counselors not to get involved either. So if this does end up matriculating into, if this doesn't pass tonight, and this goes to the IURC, I am not going to support taking any legal action to get ourselves caught up in this mess any further than we have. I just want to make that abundantly clear, get that on the record, that I believe that I'm going to vote yes for this tonight, because I believe it brings slow, controlled, and environmentally responsible growth to the area, as well as the $3 million incentive for the airport development area as well. And so that's why I'm going to vote yes. I just want to make it clear that I will not support any legal action that if it comes to that. So.
Very good. Anything else from counselors? All right, having none, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
What is your motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 2025-27, the consideration of an ordinance approving letter of an agreement between the town of Zionsville and Citizens Energy.
I will second that.
So I have a first from Counselor Melton and a second from Counselor Norris. Amy, can you do a roll call vote on this, please?
Yes. President Plunkett,
No.
Vice President Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Melton,
Yes.
okay, and Counselor Norris,
Yes.
Counselor Sampson,
No.
and Counselor McElderry.
No.
All right,
3-3.
so we have 3-3. Will we come back here next month? Do it again? Wait for Joe?
We have a meeting in 2 weeks.
2 weeks? All right, so this will be moved to the second March meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much again, counselors.
Thank you.
We appreciate the time.
All right, up next on the agenda is a consideration of an ordinance regarding the Zionsville Architect Review Committee. This is a second reading, ordinance 2022-02. Are there any questions from counselors? I'd make a motion to approve the ordinance.
Second.
A second from Counselor Norris. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is a consideration of a resolution regarding the Town of Zionsville Comprehensive Plan. This is Resolution 2026-02. I think probably makes sense to offer up an update here. We've had a number of different pieces of communication. Counselor Norris?
Sure, I'll go ahead and kick this one off. So first off, thank you to each of the counselors for providing input. As recently as earlier today, Counselor McElderry continues to send me thoughts and ideas. So thank you for that. President Plunkett, I think that it would behoove us, after speaking with, I've not spoken with Mr. Dale, but I've spoken with the administration and Adam Pieper, our consultant with HWC as well. We're continuing to tighten up a few things, some wording, some changes. I know Adam, as well as our attorney, Heather Harris, is taking care of a lot of, the keeping track of all the ideas and the different things. Our goal is, I think, and I guess I'll leave this up to you, if you want to have like a joint, just a group session for the public to come and speak and to flesh out these ideas, maybe in a 1 or 2 hour type meeting, to do that and then vote to approve it at a further meeting or discuss it at a further meeting. Logistically, we're still we have all these lists of changes, which we will have to vote on. Some, all, none, somewhere in between, and then we have to send it back down to the Planning Commission for them to hopefully approve it at that point, and then take it off after that. So I think that's where we're at. We're still kind of going through the land use map, some wording changes, some bigger picture ideas. So that's my update.
Yeah, I think that's an accurate update. I appreciate you pointing out the changes that have been compiled are changes that are going to go through discussion and conversation. Just because we make recommendations to changes doesn't mean that that's what's included in the comprehensive plan. And I think as a result, it does make sense to have a larger meeting. Vice President Burke has volunteered to try to coordinate calendars and get everybody together for a session here in the next few weeks so that we can try to get everything to the Plan Commission as accurately and as efficiently as possible.
Right, and I believe, I think, does that work for Adam, thumbs up? Does that work for you as well? Yeah, if that's okay.
Sure.
I mean, Adam is the brains of the operation, so.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, that does work for us, and happy to coordinate schedules, and we will do everything in our power, certainly, to make ourselves available at the time that works best for you all. And again, just to reiterate, I shared earlier today kind of the list of all the comments that we had received. I would ask you to make sure that that is represented, that we didn't miss anything, or I don't know, Evan, if something was sent to you that hasn't been sent on to us, just to kind of double check that. And then we're trying to organize them and to identify, you know, if it's a minor formatting typo, like, we'll identify it and talk about what that change is, but that is like not where we want to focus a bunch of conversation in a special meeting or public session. There may be some items that are kind of that interim where an addition or deletion has been suggested that I don't think has a huge impact on intent or a fundamental change in the plan. And then there are going to be a number of items where we certainly do want to allow for a larger discussion.
Did you send me?
I emailed it, the council email group was on it.
At what time today?
It was late today.
Okay, yeah, I haven't checked it then. That works for me, so it sounds like we'll get calendars together, issue a notice, and trudge on.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Do you want a motion on this?
Yeah, to continue.
Yeah, I'll move that we continue Resolution 2026-02 to the next meeting.
Second.
I have a first from Counselor Norris, a second from Counselor Melton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you. First item in new business.
For the record, that was Adam Pieper with HWC. I don't think he introduced himself.
First item in new business is the consideration of a resolution establishing Disability Awareness Month for the town of Zionsville, with Resolution 2026-06. And we have Mayor Stair with us this evening.
Thank you, President Plunkett. This is a resolution that we're doing jointly, and this is the first time that I've been here. We've done a joint resolution like this, and I think we have agreed to do this because it's important, and it's an important issue in our town. And Zionsville wants to be supportive in this way to the citizens that we have who have developmental disabilities. If you'd like me to read this into the record, I'll be happy to do so.
Please.
All right. This is Resolution 2026-06. Whereas President Ronald Reagan issued a proclamation in 1987 declaring March to be Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, seeking to increase public awareness of people with developmental disabilities. And whereas the presidential proclamation urges the opportunities be provided to help individuals with developmental disabilities lead productive lives and achieve their full potential. And whereas since March of 1987, National Disabilities Awareness Month has been annually recognized to promote the full inclusion of all individuals with disabilities in all facets of society and to bring greater awareness concerning disabilities and the issues faced by individuals with disabilities. And whereas millions of Americans, including residents of Zionsville, have challenges that limit their mobility or inhibit one or more of their daily life activities. And whereas the town of Zionsville has a long history of being welcoming, a welcoming community, and people of all abilities play an important role in our town. And whereas it is well established that supporting organizations, programs, and activities that assist individuals with disabilities in living independently can strengthen our town in many ways, both in the public and private sectors. And whereas Disabilities Awareness Month provides an opportunity to further educate the public about disabilities and celebrate the achievements and contributions to the town of Zionsville of residents with disabilities. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the mayor and the town council of the town of Zionsville as follows. The month of March 2026 is hereby established as Disabilities Awareness Month in the town of Zionsville. The town of Zionsville encourages all residents to support those organizations and individuals that work to increase independence and enhance the opportunities for individuals with disabilities. The town of Zionsville also encourages all residents to contribute to further enhancing the lives of individuals with disabilities by advocating for their increased independence and promoting greater awareness of disabilities and the issues faced by people living with disabilities. The town of Zionsville, through the mayor, town council, all town employees, and the Zionsville Advisory Committee on Disability, is hereby charged with the responsibility of actively promoting Disabilities Awareness Month. In witness whereof, we hereunto set our hands to this resolution and cause the seal of the town of Zionsville to be affixed to it on this second day of March, 2026. Earlier today, I gave Amy a ceremonial copy of this resolution that I would ask everyone to sign, and then we'll have another signed copy for our records, for the town records. But I think it's important to note that the ZACD, the Advisory Committee on Disabilities, has done wonderful work. They're just getting started. I appreciate Tom Easterday's leadership in that area, and I think that we're setting the stage this year to do even greater things in the years to come. So appreciate working with all of you on this, and I think this is very meaningful to our town. Not just the people with disabilities, but I think everybody in our town. So with that, I think you were ready to applaud,
I was.
Councilor
right?
Morris.
Disability
Yes.
Awareness Month.
All right.
Thank you.
So this is Resolution 2026-06. Counselor Sampson, would you like to make a motion on this?
I would love to make a motion on this. I move to approve the resolution number 2026-06.
Second. So we have a first from Counselor Sampson, a second from President Plunkett. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you. Up next on the agenda is a consideration of a resolution regarding the appropriation of additional funds. This is Resolution 2026-07. We have Cindy Poore here. If there's any questions from counselors. I will say this is a public hearing, and I approve of the publication of the publication of Gateway. Proof of publication and gateway of the public hearing. At this point, I'll open the public hearing. Is there any members of the public who would like to speak? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Any questions from counselors? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve Resolution 2026-07.
First from Counselor McElderry, a second from Vice President Burke. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is a consideration of a resolution regarding the appropriation of additional funds. This is for IT, police, and ZARC. This is also a public hearing, and I approve for the publication and gateway of notice of public hearing. At this point, I'll open the public hearing. Is there any members of the public who would like to speak? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Any questions from counselors? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
I had one question real quick, but I don't know that anyone can answer this. For ZARC, are any of these funds already spoken for from previous meetings? But I don't think anybody's here from ZARC. So that's all. It was just a question I had, because I knew we had had a few years. Justin.
I understand your question correctly. They're not spoken for in the sense there hasn't been grants awarded. This is new money to allow ZARC to make grants going forward.
Going forward?
Yes.
Okay. That's
Okay.
what I wondered, because I knew there had been some previous years where we were looking at some approvals that didn't have funding and.
Correct.
then
The
we
committee's
stopped.
kind of been put on hold until funding was in place.
Okay, great.
Any other questions from counselors? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
Real quick, one question. So on this resolution, 2026-08, there's 3 line items: general, police operating, food and beverage. Never mind, it answers my question. I see it all now, I'm sorry. I want to make a motion to approve resolution 2026-08. I apologize, I missed a line. Thank
A
you.
first from Counselor Melton, a second from Vice President Burke. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is a consideration of a resolution regarding the reappropriation of funds. This is for DPW, Resolution 2026-09. Questions from counselors? I would point out for the public, this is just simply a reappropriation request that moves budgeted money from one fund to another. This is not new money. This is just existing budgeted funds from one account to the other. They were mislabeled, so we're account ending in 369 to 442.
I guess my only comment on this was, do we need to be making different line item names to help this be prevented from happening again? Thanks, Cindy.
Those line item names are set by the state, those two. It's just a matter of the 369 or smaller things, smaller potholes, patchwork, something like that, whereas infrastructure is more our annual road program, and it just got put in the wrong line.
So just a human error, not
We have
reading?
to, yeah, we have to manually enter every single line of the budget into Gateway. Yeah.
Is that unique to us, or is that how everyone does that?
I would say that's probably how about 80% of them do it.
And how do the other people do it?
Well, at this point in
Directly.
time, and I don't know, Tim might be able to, I don't think there's a way to upload that information. We just have to go in and enter it. Hopefully, in the near future, there will be a way that we can upload, because there are some we can do for our annual report, but not yet for budget. Yeah. Welcome.
Any other questions for Cindy? I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second from Counselor Sampson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next on the agenda is consideration of an ordinance to amend the Town of Zionsville Ordinance Petition Number 2025-86-Z Cedar Crest Cottage. Ordinance 2026-03. We have Mike Dale, Director of Planning and Building.
Good evening. Cedar Crest College LLC has petitioned the town to rezone about 2.6 acres from the town's urban neighborhood business B1 zoning district to the urban outdoor business B3 district. The Plan Commission held a hearing in January and forwarded a favorable recommendation to the council, subject to voluntary recorded commitments that should be in your packet. The site is located about 1 mile west of here, west of downtown Zionsville, on the north side of Oak Street between Ford and County Road 950 East. The intent of the petition is to establish a self-storage facility on the east portion of the site, of the 2.6-acre site, and to establish an automotive service for use on the west side of the parcel. The proposed voluntary commitments would limit the intensity of future development of the site if the rezoning is granted, and add operational constraints such as reducing hours of business to protect the neighboring residential uses to the north. I believe the petitioner is here and their attorney represented by Jeff Jacobs.
Sure, Mr. Jacob.
Good evening, Council. My name is Jeff Jacob. I'm an attorney with Hackman Hewlett with offices here in Zionsville on South Elm Street. I'm here tonight with Sam and Kathy Scheidler, the petitioners in this matter. The Scheidlers are long-term business owners here in Zionsville. I helped them, not to date myself, but I helped them with their first Z storage facility 21 years ago. Which is adjacent to the subject site just to the east on the map in front of you. As Mr. Dale mentioned, we have a 2.6 acre site. Just for reference, it's generally behind the Key Bank building and just east of the Zionsville Medical Center. It's important to note that it's really within the 334 corridor and really zone of influence. The Zionsville Place development, as this plat is known, this phase of the plat was finalized in 2012. So it's a parcel that's been around, and I believe this is the last of those, that plat to be proposed for development. As you'll see, we've got a current B1 zoning classification that we are asking to change to B3. And it's important to note that the history of this zoning classification is, as we did in conjunction with staff, a little bit of research into what had happened on this parcel. And we discovered that the B2 zoning classification that it originally carried dates back to 1977. It was only been in the last 4 or 5 years, in 2021, a private petition, a non-Zionsville initiated petition to rezone this parcel from B2 to B1 in order to support what I believe was to accommodate a daycare use, which obviously did not happen. So what I'm trying to emphasize here is that this has been in the Zionsville plan probably in advance of the adjoining subdivisions dating back to 1977, where it's carried a B2 zoning classification. Procedurally, the reason we are asking for a B3 zoning classification is to support the self-storage facility. The Zionsville's ordinance really treats all storage facilities the same, whether it's an industrial, we think of a storage facility with a large fence around the perimeter, or what we have in front of you this evening, more of a neighborhood-centric use. Either way, the ordinance treats those facilities the same, which we would argue are significantly different, as evidenced by the Scheidler's ongoing business operations, which have been successful in the community for a couple decades. So in terms of layout, and this is a little bit of a dated design, but the automotive service facility is proposed on the west side of the site. The center lot is undeveloped or unknown at this time, and then the east side, adjoining the Scheidler's current Z-Storage facility, is along the western portion of the site. Now, this is, let's talk about the Automotive Service Center for a period of time. We believe that we have a very attractive design, well done for an automotive service center. I think that this is one that would challenge or rival any other in the community and will be a nice addition. It is oriented on the site to minimize impact to the adjoining property owners, and the intent is for this to be a flagship location for the brand user at the site. There's another rendering. The self-storage facility, we believe, will have an equal to or exceed the high-quality, low-impact use as the Scheidler's other locations, with a neighborhood-centric storage facility. Again, this is not the typical industrial-like warehouse storage units, but it will be very similar, if not the same, as what their current operations in Zionsville hold. Another look or rendering. Now, one of the things that I think is, well, first and foremost, this comes to you with a favorable recommendation from the planning staff and the Plan Commission. Before the Plan Commission meeting and after, Mr. Scheidler has met with a number of adjoining property owners, and we have in the Plan Commission file and as part of the Town Council file, I believe, a number of affirmative letters of support. Now, this map represents anyone in pink that has sent a letter to the Plan Commission supporting the project. Now, that's not to say that other adjoiners don't support or have different feelings, but I think it speaks volumes when you have adjoiners that are actively providing feedback in a written format to the Plan Commission and now to the Town Council. We have put together an extensive list of commitments, and I want to break those down a little bit for you. We have a number of prohibited uses, and what we've done is said, here are things that we cannot do on this site. And that includes almost all of the potential B3 zoning classification permitted uses. At staff's suggestion at the Plan Commission level, we went a step further. Because you can't pick up every possible use on a site under the zoning ordinance, we've gone another step further and said, hey, not only are we prohibiting these uses, but we're also going to show you, just for instructive purposes, what we can do on the site. So we've also provided in opposite a list of potential permitted uses. So that's one area in our commitments. We have also proposed a number of operational limitations that staff alluded to: no outdoor self-storage, defined hours of operation, 24-hour video recording, lighting restrictions, and those were all presented to the Plan Commission. We have also, after the Plan Commission and after our favorable recommendation, we've gone through and at the Plan Commission meeting, the concern that we had from some property owners in the area were, I don't think we had a single concern about the self-storage facility. It was focused on the automotive service center. Again, that's a permitted use under the historic B2 zoning classification. So what we've done then is come in and we've focused on some additional operational limitation to lessen the impact. So we provided these, some in advance of the Plan Commission meeting and some after. At the Plan Commission, the service center would be operated completely within a climate-controlled facility. And the importance there and the intention is that, and pair that with their next commitment, that the overhead doors, to the extent practicable, would remain closed. So the intent there is to make sure that this facility is opened and contained within closed four walls of the building. We've also committed that we would use electric tools, in other words, non-pneumatic, which people associate in the industry with more noise. Now, what I have learned in this process is, as we have, the automotive industry has changed to more of a diagnostic field than a hands-on, turn the wrench type uses, which is more of the intent here. Further, I've learned a little bit about air compressors, and the air compressors that we would have, to the extent that we would have any, would have a worm-type gear instead of a dual piston. Again, those commitments are designed to reduce operational noise. We've also committed to work with staff. We've got to go through a replat and development plan, should you approve our request this evening. And we would like to shift the automotive service facility to the south to the extent we can, just to move it away from the residential use to the north. At the Plan Commission, a further commitment that came out was that we would preserve the healthy, non-invasive trees in the northern and western boundary. That's been a request from the adjoiners and that we support. We've also gone after the Plan Commission, and some of our new commitments deal with some of the noise dampening techniques in the service center. So in the ceiling of the service center facility, we would utilize, in addition to the brick, we would utilize R30 insulation plus an additional insulation blanket, bringing the total R value to 41, which, as I'm told, will provide some additional noise dampening. Then the walls, in addition to the brick, will be 2x6 framed construction. It will have a 1/2 inch of spray foam and an additional layer of energy-controlled cellulose fiber spray overlay. Again, these are additional techniques, I think, that are over and above normal commercial construction that we're utilizing to provide some noise dampening techniques. So I'm happy to go through. Yes, sir.
Are all these commitments contained within Exhibit E and F that's attached to our ordinance?
Exhibit E and F, I believe, sir, are the original commitments and the supplemental commitments. Yes, sir.
Okay, so from your perspective, is there any requirement, because you've attached these additional commitments under Exhibit F, there's no requirement for us to
Memorialize what I'm in a motion? No.
No.
Oh, sorry.
I meant send this back to Planning Commission.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Sorry, that was.
No, I appreciate the question.
Mr. Norris, those commitments were reviewed by the Plan Commission as part of its recommendation to the town council.
Right.
Okay.
The Exhibit E commitments, but
Both.
Those were also reviewed. We added 2 by way of, by additional, more intensive construction standards, where we're basically just telling you we're going to put in more insulation.
Yeah, I'm great with them. I just want to make sure
Yeah,
procedurally that
Yeah.
I
So,
got my head wrapped around it.
yeah, so I'm happy to go through the statutory rezoning criteria, should council need any, have any issues. Mr. Scheidler would be happy to answer any questions, as would I.
I was listening about the discussion of moving the auto, I don't know what you have it called on this map.
Auto Service
south.
Center, yes.
Auto Service Center South. What needs to be noted for that to happen, or was the Plan Commission aware of that?
That was a commitment made at the Plan Commission level.
It's
as
just
well.
not in the drawing.
Correct. And really what we're going to do is work with staff. Our intention is to shift that. We've got some setbacks that we want to make sure. What I didn't want to do at the Plan Commission level was get us into something that we hadn't fully engineered. And so making sure drainage works, making sure that setbacks work and the like, making sure that fire department is happy and they've got access. What we didn't want to do is get into something like that. Our intention is to shift that with the coordination of staff to try to make sure that we can do that.
Any other questions from
But we're
councilors?
approving it where it is, with hopes to shift it.
Correct,
Okay,
correct.
I just wanted to.
Correct.
Just want to make a couple comments on this since I was on the planning commission. There was a recommendation that passed for that. I was the dissent, though, on that. And I wanted to explain to everybody in the audience why I was concerned with it. However, through a little bit more education on my side, we went through some historical stuff with the B1 to the B3, which was great. I'm glad that kind of got unearthed with regards to the daycare, et cetera. But my main thing was with regards to like compliance as we move into the future and just trying to make sure that once these things are embedded into the form where it's memorialized, I feel better about that. The whole property as a whole is not a very large property, but with regards to the property itself, I was really hoping that we would have an idea, a final idea what the middle property would be. But I will say that as this project has evolved, as they've continued to make additional commitments that are going to be memorialized, they're offering to move the building slightly, adding the extra insulation. I have become a yes vote on this, so I just wanted to cast that out. I still wish we knew exactly what we were doing with regards to the centerpiece of this property, as it's kind of the main driveway of these two properties that are these two buildings that are going to be back there as well. But I will say that because this group has done a great job trying to make this fit within this area, which is a unique area with residential right behind it, and they've done a great job. So I just wanted to carry that on from the Plan Commission.
Yeah, I just have one quick question. First of all, thank you so much for all the attempts to reach out to us, for obviously the look of it fits and feels like it belongs in Zionsville. Really well done all around, especially with what you would allow and not allow in that property. My question has to do with, you went into great detail about how there'd be extra insulation and things like that, but there weren't going to be pneumatics. I'm just wondering what noises we're thinking are needing to be dampened beyond the, putting a tire on or taking a tire off, because that's the noise that I think everybody's worried about when you think about a car maintenance type facility.
Well, I think I think the industry has changed a little bit as I've gotten into this, and I really think it was more, we're happy to do that and to make those. I can't speak to what, other than just people's belief or knowledge of what
You're just going the extra mile up
Just
front.
going the extra mile based upon concerns. These are 100% driven from adjoining property owner concerns that we have addressed and gone what I believe to be over and above to address some of those.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I love that you're a long-term owner, Zionsville resident, so I really had a nice meeting with him, and appreciated the willingness to work with your neighbors. It's, I think, very important to the council to hear that, so thank you for sharing.
I like the project. I have a couple questions, and again, probably to Councilor Melton's point, it's really kind of like what's the unknown piece of what's not developed. I'm just trying to get my hands around everything. It's 2.6 acre total property. I've driven by it, tried to get a sense of it. It's not a large space.
It is not, and there's quite a bit of, there's going to be some drainage challenges that we'll have to take up on that spot. So yes, in terms of developable lot, it's not very big.
Right. So just help me with, I guess, and I'm looking at the schematic designs. The units, how many, it doesn't look like a very large, is it going to have any indoor? Because I know, I've been a
Indoor
client of
storage?
yours as well. But
Yes, it will 100% be indoor storage.
Oh, so this facade, it just looks like it's kind of outdoor storage? Because it looked like they were like garage doors.
Well, the garage doors are for the auto service.
No.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Sam Scheidler, thanks for the question. You're asking about on the storage building, correct?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. The overhead doors are for indoor storage, but non-climate controlled, like a garage. Okay, so the units on the west of that building, those doors right there.
Yes.
Those are all non-climate, like a garage. Okay.
So there is some external entry point to some of the units.
Well, those units will use those overhead garage. Those are overhead garage doors right there.
Yeah.
But behind those, it's about 1/3, 2/3. 1/3 for the non-climate controlled garages, and behind those will be climate controlled
Yes.
units. So those are, I think Jeff was, well, I'm not sure, but they're all indoors, some climate controlled, some not climate controlled.
Thank you. And then I'm just trying to get a sense of what's left in the middle, which right now I appreciate there's a lot of green space that looks nice, although the intention is to develop that. What acreage is left that you believe could be developed in that middle section?
1.1 acre. And the two side lots are 0.75.
Okay. And then looking at kind of, I appreciate it again, so then thinking through like what could you possibly put in that space at 1.1 acres? And I'm not saying it shouldn't be developed, I'm just trying to get a sense of some of the prohibited uses were things that mostly made sense. Some looked a little bit random to me, so no tuck shop or a dry cleaner, but yet you could have an apparel shop. Like that, I couldn't quite get that, but then like drugstore was okay. You only got 1.1 acres. You're probably not putting I know it doesn't necessarily matter, but like it just seemed like a lot of time and attention went into getting this list together, and I'd like some sense of what really is probably going in there.
Yeah, so thank you for that. Really, a lot of those restricted uses were born from discussions from adjoining property owners. And so I would agree with you that there is a little bit of, gosh, what, tuck shop versus apparel. I hear what you're saying, and I guess I would agree that there may be some overlap there. The intention is for that to be additional self-storage into the future. What it won't be, and what we've further committed, is it will not be additional self-storage or additional automotive service. So, and that's part of our commitments as well.
But it did look like some acceptable uses still listed some of that. I mean, I guess you have to list it because it's in what you're trying to accomplish with this particular
Correct.
one. Okay,
Correct.
I got you. No, it was just to get a sense of what might be there. And again, I'm okay with most of those uses anyway. It just seemed like maybe someone didn't want a competitor in there. I don't know. It just seemed like.
Yeah, there was some of that, yes. There was a joint of requests. I think there was a no daycare facility, and we
Right.
agreed to that, yeah. But the intention right now, Commissioner Burke, is for additional self-storage facility in there. But time will tell with that.
Thank you so much. Really nice job presenting this.
Any other questions from councilors?
No questions, just very quick statement. I just wanted to thank Mr. Scheidler for giving me a call these past few weeks. We finally got on the horn earlier today. Really appreciate all the commitments that you made to your neighbors. I didn't get one letter of remonstrance or anything about this project, so I'm excited to vote for this, and this is, I think how all businesses should come into Zionsville. So thank you for being an example for that. Thank you.
Anything else from council? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion. Oh, go ahead.
Just as a procedural note, I don't know that you opened it up for other public comment. I think,
We have our request to speak at the very beginning.
okay, just
Yeah.
double checking. Thank you.
Yeah, and we did not have anyone request to speak on this.
Thank you, apologies. I don't want to forestall a vote, so
No, that's okay.
I just want to make sure.
I guess before we do take a vote, I'll just say, I mean, I do appreciate also, the petitioner reaching out and having had a little bit of history with storage units. It is significant to me, the adjoining property owners' feedback and responses, so, certainly appreciate that as well, so. At this point, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve on final reading ordinance 2026-03.
Second.
We have a first from Counselor Norris, a second from Counselor Sampson. All those in-
Question. Does that also necessarily require, as part of the motion, the commitments, subject to commitments? Or is
I
that?
thought that's what he asked earlier.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering if it has to be part of the motion.
I understand. If you read our motion,
Yeah.
it specifically references exhibits E and F,
Okay.
commitments.
All right, thank you.
That's why, if you'd like me to clean it up, I can.
As long as it's
Clean it up.
clear enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
You good with it?
Do you want to do it again?
I'm
Adam-
fine with
Adam,
it.
what do you think? Do we need to
Yeah.
clean this up or not?
Here, can I show you the?
It's in there, right?
Yeah.
So it's already in there.
Yeah.
It's all, we're good.
Okay. I have a first from Counselor Norris, a second from Counselor Sampson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is a consideration of an ordinance authorizing the issue of general obligation bonds for the DPW campus project. This is a first reading, ordinance 2026-04. We have Max Adams with Barnes and Thornburg with us tonight.
Thank you, President Plunkett, members of the council. My name is Max Adams with Barnes and Thornburg. Chris Greisel sends his regrets. He was double booked tonight, so I hope I do as good a job as Chris has done in the past few months. This is for ordinance number 2026-04, the DPW campus project. Ordinance does a lot of things, but generally speaking, proposed to issue general obligation bonds of the town in an amount not to exceed $14,745,000. Just to recap where we've been, in December, we had sort of an introductory resolution setting forth the maximum bond parameters. Because this is a controlled project due to the size of the bond issuance, we did the preliminary determination, public hearings at the January and February meetings, and now that we have the bond ordinance in front of you on first reading. Just first reading, no vote required, but we'll be back at this March 16th meeting for final approval. Happy to answer any questions, and Tim Berry with Crow is here as well.
Thanks, Max. As he mentioned, this is ordinance 2026-04. This is a first reading. Are there any questions from counselors? I'll make a motion to introduce on first reading, ordinance 2026-04.
Second.
A second from Counselor McElderry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is a consideration of an ordinance authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds for the West Side Fire Station. Also first reading, ordinance 2026-05, and also Max Adams.
Thank you, President Plunkett, members of the council. Max Adams with Barnes and Thornburg. Chris Greisel wanted me to repeat that. This ordinance is for proposed to issue general obligation bonds amount not to exceed $8,650,000. This is for the West Side Fire Station project. As you recall, December we had the introductory resolution, followed by the preliminary determination, public hearings in January and February, and now we have the bond ordinance here on first reading. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from counselors? Again, first reading, I would introduce on first reading, I make a motion to introduce on first reading ordinance 2026-05.
Second.
A second from Counselor Melton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
Max.
Nice job, Max.
Next on the agenda is consideration of an ordinance amending Title 5, Chapter 53, Section 53.40 of the Zionsville Code of Ordinances Road impact fees, first reading, ordinance 2026-06.
Thank you, President Plunkett. I wanted to give a little bit of context on this ordinance and also a little bit more information about the road impact fee. As a result of some conversations with the Zionsville Chamber of Commerce, specifically their advocacy committee, we had some feedback also from small and medium-sized businesses about our road impact fee. And so we tried to look at some ways that we could help provide some assistance to those businesses while also collecting necessary revenues. So in order to do that, we looked at a couple of different ways that we could do that. And one was looking at just making it more transparent, more conspicuous place on our website for examples, so that when developers or when those who are building buildings are looking to look at the various fees that they would be assessed, they could have an understanding of what that would be earlier in the process. So that's one thing we can do administratively. The other thing is the way in which this fee is assessed is often done at the development phase. And what we do is when a multi-tenant office building or a multi-tenant commercial building is developed, we will do a very low rate at the beginning because we don't know the exact purpose, the ultimate purpose. So that rate will be assessed to the developer, and then at a later date, we will assess it to the tenant. But that ends up being a rather large amount sort of late in the process potentially, because that gets issued just prior to issuance of the building permit. So what we will do instead is we will apply a shopping center rate or a general office rate to the developer as opposed to the tenant. So again, this will be the same general amount of collection because it'll be somewhere between kind of that lower intensity use and a higher intensity use. But again, it will shift the burden from a developer to a tenant. And then the other one we looked at was more around the ordinance. That's what we're talking about today, was looking at the ability for the user to have a payment plan. So currently, the ordinance allows for a 2-year payment plan, and we've extended that out to a 5-year payment plan. I see this really as an incremental change, and we can continue to look at opportunities to improve this, but I think the balance is trying to make sure that necessary revenue is collected, but while we're also giving some flexibility for both developers and businesses, particularly those smaller and medium-sized businesses for whom this is a larger fee for them to swallow. So happy to take any questions on that ordinance, but I just wanted to give a little bit of context on kind of how we got here, and then also some of the other changes that will be both administrative in addition to this ordinance change.
Any questions from counselors?
Unless somebody else does, I have a couple, very quickly.
You go, I think I have one.
With regard to, you just mentioned, oh my goodness, I just lost my train of thought. Kind of a broad question. Is this intended, so I've gotten a few messages, requests, complaints in the past about, so-and-so is opening a shop in a building, a salon or something like that, and they get charged a $5,000, road impact fee or something like that, just out of the gate, just somebody opening up a one-room little shop. Is this what this is intended to alleviate or to help alleviate a little bit?
Correct. Yes, we're trying to ease the burden, particularly like you said, on smaller businesses that still get relatively large fees. And if there's an opportunity for them to spread that payment over, or again, if they're a tenant, it would push it on to the developer. Now, the developer is likely to pass that along to the tenant, but they can do that over the life of a lease as opposed to it being a large upfront cash payment.
Okay. And then does the town, do you still have the discretion whether or not to approve a payment plan? So, for example, I'm thinking of, well, now everyone's going to come out and try to extend those payments over 5 years, even though they may be liquid enough or have enough cash to do it. Do we have discretion, or is that an option that anyone is entitled to?
Anyone can elect to take the payment plan.
Okay.
And there'll be an interest rate, so there's a 5% per annum interest rate if they elect to take the payment plan.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. That helps answer my questions.
Did I read in here about expansion of existing businesses having a different hit from the impact fee, or am I making that up in my head? I felt like there had been concern for businesses that wanted to maybe take over another part of a shopping standing building and having to start all over on the new business size. Am I following that? I thought that was something we were going to consider, having expansions being looked at as far as impact fees.
I don't know if it was necessarily referenced relative to this amendment in the instances where either there would be more square footage or there would be a reclassification of use that would be more intense, then there might be an additional road impact fee that would be assessed.
They
But
get the credit from the initial impact fee that they paid when they first started their original business.
I believe so, yes, and it would be the delta between what their existing use was, their existing square footage, and the additional.
My question is, if the business gets a payment plan for 5 years, they go out of business after 2 years, are you chasing them for the rest of the?
There is a lien, so yes, so there's, a lot of this is determined by state statute, and there is a statutory lien that is applied to the property if they weren't to pay.
To the property or the business? Or
Property.
to the property. So we're putting a road impact fee on a property, but my understanding is kind of the way we just described this is if the property has a different business owner come in to the same building, we're going to assess them a new fee. Is that correct?
Now, if the use is the same, we won't necessarily, but if it is a new use, if it goes from a less intense use to a more intense use, then there will be
Was there
additional.
credit in the inverse?
If the use goes from less intense to,
Or more intense?
more intense to
so-
less intense, I'd have to get back to you on that answer. I don't,
No.
okay, the answer would be no.
Yeah, I just, as I was thinking about different businesses coming and going, I understand the use changing, but I just wonder how many times we're really supposed to assess road impact fees to a particular development. I guess that's my overall concern with it. It sounds like we can do it indefinitely as long as businesses change and they may increase in traffic flow, I guess. Is that?
I think the spirit of the fee is to, again, capture road improvements that would be necessary to serve the users of that business. So if you end up having a larger amount of impact, a larger amount of users, larger amount of daily trips, which is how it's calculated, then yes, we would collect more fees.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Have you reestablished do we have a Zionsville Impact Fee Review Board? It says
We do.
reestablishing it in the section 12, so.
That was in the ordinance that currently governs it, but yes, we do have such a board.
Oh, look at that one.
From 2023.
Okay.
And that's an appeals board, is that right?
That's correct, yes. Do you have a question, Vice President Burke?
Yeah, thanks for a lot. There's a lot to get through. And I appreciate most of it. I guess I get this, but I just want to make sure that we're incentivizing people who come in to make sure they're paying upfront as best they can. And it sounds like the carrot there is that you could save on an interest.
Correct.
If you
I
don't
think
do
in
it.
general, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
And what else?
I think in general, larger businesses will probably pay upfront because it's easier for them and they have the capital and they'd rather do that rather than pay the interest rate or have a lien be applied to them. So generally, this is trying to help small and medium-sized businesses. And you're right, the interest or lack thereof becomes the incentive to pay it upfront.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's where my head was going when I asked about the discretion.
Yeah.
Any other questions from counselors? This is ordinance 2026-06. This is first reading. I would entertain a motion.
I'll move to introduce.
I have a first from Counselor Norris, a second from Vice President Burke. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
Anything for other matters for counselors?
Yes, I do have an other matter. I'd just like to share that the town and the Zionsville Advisory Committee on Disability are presenting a celebration of Disabilities Month, Disabilities Awareness Month, on Saturday, March 14th at Town Hall from noon to 2 p.m. There's going to be disability resource fair and networking, games and activities for siblings and those who are disabled. We're going to have some best buddies here. There's going to be a performance by the Zionsville High School United Sound, which are individuals with disabilities that do participate in the orchestra. And we're going to do an all-abilities hike on the Zionsville Rail Trail. Just in case anyone has any concerns about the ever-changing Indiana weather, we will either have it outside or inside, but we are planning on inside unless it's a gorgeous day. So would love for everyone to join us, those families with disabilities and those who just want to come and be a buddy for the day. We would welcome you on our all-abilities hike. So hope to see a lot of our town showing up.
Thank you for that. Anything else from counselors? Having nothing, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
A second from Counselor Sampson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed. The next regular town council meeting is scheduled for Monday, March 16, 2026, at 7:30 a.m. in the Zionsville Town Hall Council Chambers. Final notice will be posted in compliance with the Indiana Open Door Law. Thank you.